I'm sure the dogs knew that events were happening with the declining health of Her Majesty. The dogs are very perceptive of changes in their owners, in people's general health. I mean, there's a whole medical charity devoted to a study of this amazing ability of dogs to pick up on illness in people. So yeah, I'm sure they knew that Her Majesty was in decline and they will have missed her. I doubt there will be serious changes in behaviour, we'll call it grief, because they were so used to being cared for by other members of the household, and of course by Prince Andrew, who was present at the death and is taking over their care now. That was such a touching image of the two Corgis lined up watching the passing of the hearse. I doubt they realised that that was the close proximity of Her Majesty's body. I mean, dogs are capable of many amazing things, but that was something they probably weren't aware of. I am here to resolve behavioural problems, major behavioural problems in dogs usually, but cats and other animals. And all my cases come to me by veterinary referral, and so her vet doctor called me and described a situation with a large number of Corgis fighting one another. They just happened to live in Windsor. I wonder if it's the Queen, thought I. And it's really important that we have access to the veterinary records of the patient concerned, and I did in this occasion, and I was ably assisted by the vet who referred them in this instance. And she was a frequent attendee at the local veterinary practice, taking her pets there herself, just as would you and I. So I repeat, this was a hands-on, caring dog owner. The key problem with this pack of Corgis was that they were fighting one another, and so my first concern was what do you do if there's a dog fight? And I recommended I gave her the equivalent of a miniature carbon dioxide cylinder, and it's called nowadays commercialised as a pet corrector, which is sold across the world. There was one dog in particular called Chipper, who seemed to be the ringleader and the instigator of a lot of fights. So he was rehomed to her daughter, Princess Anne, and she's a great dog lover in her own right. So that was the frequency and intensity of fights thereafter decreased, but there were more fights. And then numbers gradually decreased as old age and death took over the dogs. So by 2016, she had no dogs. So she went through a period of some years dogless, and then Prince Andrew gave her a couple Corgi puppies, and it all started again. So at her deathbed, pleasingly, she had the company of her beloved Corgis. I think her first little Corgi was called Susan and was given to her when she was a child. And as so often happens, when you're first exposed to a breed of dog which you love dearly, and you think that that's the only breed of dog that matters. She's been incredibly loyal to this breed. She's had in total, I'm told, with the order 30. And it was so lovely that in her last couple of years, she had two little Corgis and other dogs around her, because there's no doubt that any of us, at any stage in our life, but particularly when our life is, if you like, declining and stressful, to be able to reach and stroke and be loved by an uncritical admirer, which is a dog, is a great comfort. I'm quite certain that her husband, Prince Philip, took a more critical view of the Queen's love of dogs. Yeah, he himself loved animals, of course. He himself had commented on the excessive numbers of Corgis, and who knows, maybe there's competition for time, affection, space. These were dogs that, like so many of us, were spoiled, indulged, but also treated firmly and effectively. I visited Windsor Park, the home of Prince Andrew, to see his dogs, as it happened, two little terriers, and it's a fantastic environment for dogs. So these dogs will be pampered. There is again a household, a family, and servants, and they will be well cared for, just as they've been accustomed to being cared for well in Balmoral and Windsor and the other places. And most of the time, or much of their lives, have been spent in Windsor, and Prince Andrew's house is located about 2 miles from the castle. So for them it will be a matter of going home, if you like. My understanding is that the dogs were at Balmoral in the end of Her Majesty's life. Really, it is my certain knowledge that they travelled wherever possible, always with Her Majesty. So not overseas trips, but you've all seen images of them climbing the steps of airplanes, trains, cars, And she herself would drive the dogs around. She told me a story which really was in the context of seeking advice for having 11 dogs from her house in Buckingham Palace to about 20 miles away, Windsor Castle, down this highway, the M4, and I've got these darn yapping dogs in the back of the car. You can't concentrate. They're so noisy. Why are they so excited in the car? She would say. And then, Mum, who else was in the car with you? Nobody. No, she drove herself in this beat-up old truck, wearing her patented image of the headscarf, without any security detail, with no one else in the car, a public highway with 10 or 11 dogs yapping in the back. So it's just a fantastic image of her with a break for freedom from the intrusive press, TV, people like the great public, with their fascination with all things royal and all things to do with the Queen and her dogs. So the Queen was so relaxed in talking about her life and times with her dogs with me, and that clearly was the side of her life that she so enjoyed, as also with her horses. One particular anecdote concerned a British politician who I won't name, who rather stupidly said, Mum, how can you tell one dog from another? They all look the same to me. So she rather acidically requested, well, how do you know one of your children from another? In other words, these dogs are my children, you stupid man. Can't you tell? Of course they're different. And put him in his place.